how the state would, kind of decide its priorities, how it would go about executing its vision. Does the political leadership have the ability to actually administer a newly formed state? And what will happen to the diverse population that there is in Hyderabad? What would happen to the cultural fabric, the cosmopolitanness? What would happen to industry? What would happen to IT? Number of questions, wherever I went, whoever I met, all these questions were asked. But today, I will juxtapose the facts of 2014 versus 2022. In 2014, when Telangana state was formed, our per capita income was about 1,24,000 rupees. And today, 7 years later, 7.5 years later, the per capita income has risen by a whopping 130% to 2,78,000 rupees. This is a matter of, in a span of 7 years. In a span of 7 years, Telangana's GSDP, the gross state domestic product, it was 4.9 lakh crore rupees back in 2014. Today, 7 years later, it is 11.54 lakh crores of rupees, a whopping 130% increase. Now, for those of you who do not understand what this means, how this translates into how well Telangana is doing, let me point out. India has 28 states. Indialo 28 రాష్ట్రాలు ఉన్నాయి. Out of these 28 states, Telangana is the 11th largest state geographically. భౌగోళికంగా తెలంగాణ 11వ అతిపెద్ద రాష్ట్రం. In terms of population, we're the 12th largest state in India among the 28 states. But according to Reserve Bank of India, Telangana today has emerged as the 4th largest contributor to India's economic growth. It has become a powerful economic engine that supports the backward states in India, elsewhere in the country, and it continues to grow at a breakneck speed. In fact, just to put out another statistic so that you understand better, Telangana's population, if you look at it, it's only 2.5% of the total Indian population. But our contribution to India's GDP is 5%, which goes to show you that Telangana continues to punch above its weight, continues to contribute to the nation, continues to grow as a state. In fact, let me also put things in perspective for you. All of this happened. 14% CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, over the last 7 years has happened despite the pandemic last 2 years and despite not much support from Government of India. Had we had normalcy, had we had normal conditions, I would like to believe that we would have grown even further, we would have achieved even more. So how did this happen? How did this startup become so successful? How did it become a unicorn? How did it become what it has become? Synonymous with progress on industrial front, synonymous with progress on agriculture, synonymous with welfare, synonymous with development. How did this happen? Our Honorable Chief Minister of Telangana, Shri KTR Garu, is a man who comes from the grassroots. He's a man who believes that before you talk big, before you talk of the coolest things that are out there in BayArea and elsewhere, before you talk about semiconductor fabs, before you talk about electric vehicles and all the new things that are happening, before you talk about Web3, before you talk about anything else, he has told us on day one that we as a country, we as a state, need to ensure that the fundamental needs of the people are met with. So what did we do? We said, let's get the basics right. What do the people of Telangana want? When we started our journey, we were languishing on the power front, on the electricity front. We had frequent power outages. Industry was suffering 3 days of power outages. Domestic sector, in fact, each and every house was being, subjected to about 6 hours of power cut. And of course, agriculture sector was in a huge distress. 3 days of power holidays for industry, and agriculture sector never received continuous supply of even 6 hours of power during the daytime. That was the situation on the power front. The total installed capacity of power in the state of Telangana was about 7,000 plus megawatts, whereas the demand was more than 9,000 megawatts. So we were reeling under a serious power crisis when the journey of Telangana began. Within a span of 6 months, Honorable CM has been able to solve this major problem which could not be solved in the previous 65 years. For those of you who are wondering, how did he do this? Did he have a magic wand? No. He just had a steely resolve. He was determined to change the course of our electricity situation. What he had done was he went for short-term power purchases. He ensured that our existing plants, the thermal power generation plants, operated at a higher PLF, higher plant load factor. He also ensured that India is a sunshine country. We all know that. We almost have sun for 300 days a year. So he decided that we'll harvest as much solar energy as possible. So today, as a result, what has happened over the last 7.5 years is our installed power capacity has increased from 7,000 odd megawatts to 16,000 plus megawatts. We have more than doubled our installed power capacity. And for those of you who use electric vehicles, for those of you who use hybrid cars, let me also point out, we're a very environmentally conscious state. So our installed solar capacity increased from about 40 megawatts to today about 5,000 plus megawatts. So our 15% of our power, in fact, comes from renewable sources. So that's the commitment of Telangana, and that's how we've been able to take care of our power sector. Today, happy to share with you, 24 hours of free power is given to our farmers, and uninterrupted quality power supply is given to our industries, and no scheduled power outages for the domestic sector. Very few states in India can claim that. The second thing I'll point out, what are the other basic needs of people? I was raised in different parts of Telangana, but my high school was in Hyderabad. I used to commute from my home in Irramanzil colony, which is next to Khairatabad, and go all the way to grammar school, which is in Abbots, Hyderabad. Any St. Georgians here? Ek hai kya yaar? So I used to travel in a RTC bus. It was bus number was 135. It used to go from Khairatabad, Anand Nagar colony to Venkatramana colony to Khairatabad to Lakdika Pool to Abbots. Every summer around this time, March, I'll narrate a story to you. Every summer, when my bus used to pass through that Khairatabad area, there used to be a huge traffic jam. You peep out and see what's going on. You could see that there are women and political leaders protesting on the ground, right in front of that Hyderabad Metro Water Supply and Sewerage Board office. Thousands, hundreds of women demanding water. Pani chahiye, 14 din mein pani nahi milta, 7 din mein pani nahi milta. That was the situation. Today, happy to share with you, proud to share with you, in 75 years of Indian independence, no single state, no single leader has done what KCR Garu has done for Telangana. Every single household in Telangana today has a portable drinking water connection. We are a state, we are the only state which has provided 100% portable drinking water connection. And this is not me saying it. This is the Government of India's report, the Jal Jeevan Shakti Ministry, I think Jal Jeevan Mission Ministry, which basically declared on the floor of the House in Parliament that Telangana is the only state which has been able to accomplish this feat. How did we do it? We spent $7 billion, nearly 7 billion, nearly 40 plus crores of rupees. We connected each and every home. We laid nearly 100,000 kilometers of pipeline, which is literally, I think, 3 times the circumference of Earth. That's the vision. And in terms of execution, we were able to get it done in less than 4 years. Now, that is the kind of steely resolve. That is the kind of political will. That is the kind of dreaming big that our leadership, our Honorable Chief Minister is capable of. The third thing I'll point out on the irrigation front. Those of you who are from Telangana or those of you who are familiar with the geography of Telangana would know that Telangana had in fact, always the farmer of Telangana had in fact been heavily reliant on tube wells and bore wells. As a result, the depletion of groundwater levels in Telangana has been so rampant that even some studies of the international agencies have pointed out to a very, very acute kind of a crisis. So what our Honorable CM has done, because of the topography of Telangana, because of how Telangana is undulating, and how water actually runs at a lower level, and while the contours and while the plain lands are at a higher level. I have no idea how many of you know this. If you don't believe me, you can pull out your phone, and type in Google. Please type in the world's largest lift irrigation project. You will realize that it is Kaleshwaram project in Telangana, which has been completed in less than 4 years. It's the world's largest project completed by the youngest state in India in less than 4 years. We often talk about Chinese execution, how well things move in China, how a building was completed in 100 days, how a project was conceived and conceptualized in less than a couple of years, etc., etc. But what Telangana has done is nothing short of a miracle, considering that we live in a democracy. And democracy, there are a lot of things a lot of challenges that are inherent in getting done. So in spite of all the hurdles, in spite of all the obstacles, in spite of all the challenges and the vagaries of democracy, our Honorable CM has been able to deliver on the irrigation front. And therefore today, the situation is such that the produce from Telangana, the harvest from Telangana, is so much that even Food Corporation of India is saying, I can't procure more. I give up. We actually are now ahead of Punjab in terms of our paddy production. We have been able to surpass many other states which were leaders. Earlier, the United Andhra Pradesh used to be called Annapurna. Now I think Telangana has really become the Annapurna for entire India. It's the granary of India, which is able to produce enough for the rest of the country to be able to consume. That has been the success over the last 7 years, which I think, in my opinion, is one of a very, very interesting stories that has unfolded. It's besides the metrics, it's besides the numbers that I've mentioned, besides all these feats I've mentioned, there are 3 things I'd like to point out. While we were focused on getting the basics right on the power front, on the drinking water front, on the irrigation front, we did not focus excessively on one area, one subject. In fact, Telangana's growth story, if you ask me, centers around the 3I mantra: innovation, infrastructure, inclusive growth. That is the mantra that Telangana has followed. That is the mantra that Telangana has adopted. We innovated. A lot of people assume when I say innovation, a lot of people think, innovation is only confined to technology and tech parlance. Innovation has become a word, disruption has become a word which is synonymous with technology and startups. That's not the case. You can disrupt your processes, you can disrupt your policies, you can come out with newer ideas, you can come out with reforms in administration, disrupting the legacy processes that have been there forever. That's exactly what Telangana has done. How did we go about doing it? We took a crowdsourcing kind of model. We actually collaborated with the people. For instance, when Honorable Chief Minister wanted a new industrial policy in the state of Telangana, what did he do? He got into a room like this with various industry bodies, with the Confederation of Indian Industry, with FICCI, with FAPSI, with DICCI. There are several organizations in India which are all representatives of various industry associations. Now, all of them came into the room. He sat with them for 7 hours. It was an interactive session. He asked them questions. He said, I want the best industrial policy, for my state. And this was right after the formation. And then he asked them, what are the problems? They obviously reeled out a number of them: power, lack of incentives, lack of policy clarity, no single window system, time-bound clearances, etc., etc. He asked our administration, he asked our IAS officers, he said, where can I find the best industrial policy? Where is the ease of doing business the lowest? Then they said, somebody said Singapore, somebody else said Finland, somebody else pointed out to another country. He made sure that all of those policies were brought into a room. He sat with them personally, and he eventually, the first piece of legislation that has been passed by the state of Telangana in November 2014 was a policy called as the TSI Pass. Now, what is TSI Pass? TSI Pass stands for the Telangana State Industrial Project. Can you? Naveen, what are you doing? Naveen is up to some mischief. Bay Area and connectivity
థ్యాంక్ యూ
challenges.
వెరీ మచ్ మేడం. ఎన్నో కార్యక్రమాలు
So as I
విదేశాలతో
was
పాటు
pointing out, the
కమ్యూనికేషన్ లో
TSI pass,
పాల్గొంటున్నప్పటికీ మా ఈ
Telangana
కార్యక్రమం పట్ల
State Industrial
పిల్లల
Project
పట్ల
Approval
ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రేమతో మీరు
Self-Certification System.
ఎన్ని బిజీ ఉన్నప్పటికీ
What
ఇక్కడ
does it mean? You
పాల్గొన్నందుకు
know, like your Easy
మరొకసారి
Pass in the
ప్రత్యేకంగా
US,
ధన్యవాదాలు
we
తెలియజేస్తున్నాం
have
సార్.
created an iPass. Now, what does iPass mean? Say, for instance, Mahesh Bigala here. For instance, I take him as an example. If he, as an NRI, he owns a piece of land in his native, Nizamabad, and he wants to start a new factory which manufactures electronic goods. Let's imagine for a minute. As per TS iPass, as per the statute, as per the legislation, Mahesh Bigala does not need to take any permission from the government of Telangana. He does not need to meet the minister. He does not need to meet the principal secretary. He need not meet the municipality. He need not meet the local Gram Panchayati. He can start construction of his factory on day one. He can hit the ground running. No state in India will tell you this. There is zero graft when it comes to industrial clearances. What happens though? In case you're wondering, does this work? That sounds too good to be true. Is he just talking his way through? He's a politician. How do I believe him? Let me tell you. When he actually starts the construction of his factory, all we request any investor is that you submit an application online simultaneously, because we need to know. While there is a self-certification process, we need to know who's doing business, who's doing what, who is investing what sector have they invested in, and what are they likely to, how much are they likely to contribute in terms of employment, etc., etc. When you submit an application online through the TS iPass portal, we promise, again by legislation, all clearances in 15 days. What happens if I don't come back to you with a clearance in 15 days? On the 16th day, it's an automatic approval by legislation. It's a deemed approval. Again, no state in India will tell you this. The third thing that also happens right after you submit an application and the 15-day window lapses, from the 16th day, we can even penalize by legislation, by statute, the senior most of the bureaucrats also, a sum of rupees 1,000 per day, should they actually be held responsible for holding up the file. Again, no state in India will tell you this. This is what has made this kind of disruption, this kind of innovation has made Telangana the place to do business in. Therefore, in Telangana today, for an entrepreneur, not only do you have ease of doing business, you have peace of doing business, your cost of doing business has come down, your quality of doing business has gone up. There is zero graft. So therefore, for those of you who are wondering, does this really work? In the last 7 years, since we passed this legislation, we have given out more than 19,000 clearances through TSI Pass. We have been able to raise more than 2.3 lakh crore rupees as investment. We have been able to create more than 1.6 million direct job potential in the state of Telangana, out of which 85% have already materialized. We are not one of those vibrant states where things happen on paper, but actually reality kuch aur hi hai. We are one of those states which believes in delivering on the promise, which believes in making sure whatever commitments we make are lived up to. That's how this disruption has helped Telangana, not only on the industry front, but on several fronts. Now, what did I mean when I said infrastructure? Not only has Telangana built the world's largest lift irrigation project in less than 4 years, we have ramped up our power infrastructure with an investment of nearly 75,000 crores of rupees, from 7,000 to 16,000 megawatts. I just mentioned to you, on the drinking water front, we nearly spent $7 billion, and we have ensured that each and every home receives a portable drinking water connection. We also ensured that in the same trench that we laid for the water pipeline, we also have decided to lay a fiber optic cable, and that project also will be completed in the next few months. So each and every home in Telangana can be equipped with a 100 Mbps broadband connection. And people in Bay Area, you know the power. You know the power of a fiber optic network running into your home in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of commerce, the kind of a game changer it can be when each and every home is kind of equipped with that. So this has been the infrastructure upgrade that has happened in Telangana. Now, on the inclusive growth part, what did I mean when I said infrastructure, innovation, inclusive growth? Telangana is a state that is focused on ensuring equitable growth, holistic growth, inclusive growth. For instance, When Government of India recently released a report, or in fact a report card, on the top 10 villages, Sad Adarsh Gramin Yojana. Can you give me another mic? In Sansad Adarsh Gramin Yojana, top 10 villages were listed out. Among the top 10, 7 villages were from Telangana. Among the top 10, then this is a ranking given by Government of India. When Government of India gave out Swachh Sarvekshan rankings, which are given out for municipal local bodies, 12 awards were given to the Telangana municipalities. So the rural development and urban development in Telangana go hand in hand, have been progressing. Palle Pragati and Pattan Pragati have been going hand in hand. Likewise, our IT exports, which were at 57,000 crores when the new state of Telangana came into being, have today, 7 years later, risen to 1,45,000 crores, a huge, humongous growth, and a much higher growth rate than the national average. But at the same time, not only did IT grow, our agriculture output has also increased manifold. In fact, agricultural contribution of agriculture sector to the GSDP of the state has increased from 16% to 21%. And this, when the GSDP kept on increasing from 4.9 lakh crores to 11.54 lakh crores. So you can imagine the kind of effort that goes into ensuring a primary sector like agriculture, continues to contribute and continues to increase its, contribution to the GSDP. Likewise, on the industry sector, I've just pointed out, industry in Telangana has done really well, but at the same time, it has not taken a toll on environment. Telangana is the only state in independent India which has been able to raise its green cover, forest area, and green cover in urban lung spaces by 7.7%, from 24% today to 31.7%. The universal metric that people talk about is about 33%. Now again, in case you're wondering how did that happen, our Honorable Chief Minister conceptualized a program called Haritaharam. We planted more than 240 crore saplings, 2.4 billion saplings. Now that's how sustainability also has taken a center stage in Telangana. While welfare continues to be a priority, welfare of the poor and the vulnerable, we also ensured that development did not get hindered because of that. While education, in the government sector, in the form of 973 rural residential schools have prospered, we also ensured that private sector participation through private university legislation was also allowed, so that those of you who want to pursue opportunities in the private sector are also free to pursue their free will. Likewise, on the healthcare front, we had 3 medical colleges, only 3, in 65 years in Telangana. 3 that have been formed in 65 years. Today, in 7 years, the number of medical colleges in Telangana has risen to 13. 10 have been added, and 20 more medical colleges are being added, so that our children don't have to travel all the way to Ukraine or Philippines or China to pursue their education or educational needs, for their educational needs. So this is the kind of planning, this is the kind of visioning that has made Telangana what it has. Now, what am I doing in Milpitas? What am I doing in the United States? Of course, I'm telling everybody the growth story of Telangana. I'm asking them to be a part of this growth story. And particularly to you guys, the diaspora here, my humble appeal is on 2 counts. One, our Honorable Education Minister, ఇప్పుడే మీతో మాట్లాడారు, విద్యాశాఖ మంత్రి గారు సబితా ఇంద్రారెడ్డి గారు చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పారు. 7,230 కోట్ల రూపాయలతో తెలంగాణలోని 26,000 పాఠశాలల్ని వాటి రూపురేఖలు మార్చాలని చెప్పి మన రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం, గౌరవ ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు కంకణం కట్టుకున్నారు. ఆ విద్యా యజ్ఞంలో ఒక మిషన్ మోడ్లో జరిగే కార్యక్రమంలో మీరెవరైతే నా మాతృభూమి కోసం, నా గ్రామం కోసం, నా పట్టణం కోసం నేను ఏదైనా చేస్తే బాగుంటుంది, ఒకవేళ అవసరమైతే నా తల్లిదండ్రుల పేరు మీదో, మా నాయనమ్మ తాత పేరు మీదో, మా అమ్మమ్మ తాత పేరు మీదో ఏదైనా చేయాలనుకుంటే మీకు ఈ విద్యా యజ్ఞంలో పాల్గొనే ఒక అవకాశం ఉంది. అంటే ఇదేదో మీ మీదే ఆధారపడి ప్రభుత్వం చేస్తున్న కార్యక్రమం కాదు. వీఆర్ నాట్ రిలయంట్ ఓన్లీ ఆన్ participation of private individuals or private sector in terms of ramping up our education infrastructure. But this offers a wonderful opportunity for you to actually participate, to actually, feel good about giving back to your own village, to your own society, to your own homeland. So my humble request to all of you, those of you who are interested in participating in Manavuru, Manabadi, this is my school, my village, you can, through the portal, you can in fact choose the school that you would like to donate to. For example, my school is somewhere in Kottagudem, and I would like to donate to that particular school. You can in fact donate only to that school so that you ensure that whatever contribution you have made goes only to that school and that account and nowhere else. And we have also decentralized the process. And we have decided that in the next 3 years, all 26,000 schools will be covered. And we will do a massive upgrade of the educational infrastructure in Telangana. I urge you all to participate in this process. I urge you all to actually open up the purse strings. And Mahesh said $1. I don't think $1 counts really, because I think you spend that in a dollar store, not for your school. So you have to contribute more generously. You have to give back more generously. After COVID, after the pandemic, I think many of us have realized that life is short and our shelf lives are even shorter. So the more you give, the more good karma that you build. So it's good for your children, it's good for your families, it's good for all of you to actually give back more and to ensure that, your name remains right there on the podium or on the slate out there back home in your schools. The second request I have of you, of course, we have the biggies. We have the Amazons, Googles, Apples, Facebooks, Microns, Novartises, I can go on. There's a huge list, long list. All of them are investing significantly in Telangana. They're continuing to push, our bar in terms of, what all India can produce, India can deliver for the world. They continue to, in fact, make us proud by their investments in Telangana and in India. While all this is good, all the big boys coming into Telangana is a good story. It makes for a good, headline. Qualcomm, in fact, yesterday has announced that now their second largest center will be Telangana. They are investing a big amount in Telangana, and they're inaugurating their facility sometime later this year. Now that list goes on. That story can go on. Of course, that momentum has to continue to ensure that we continue to keep pace with the growth. But those of you who are actually in the IT space, those of you who are wanting to do something more entrepreneurial, those of you who have been, thinking, especially after the pandemic, that, it does not really matter where you work from. I think pandemic has really shown as a mirror. It has proved that it doesn't matter whether you work from home or whether you work from your garage, or whether you work from your bathroom. Nobody cares as long as you deliver. That's how it has been. That is exactly what pandemic has shown all of us across the world. In fact, there is a company in India called as Zoho. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. This gentleman has actually shown that software development and coding also can happen, in a very dispersed, in a very decentralized mode. In fact, from rural villages across the state of Tamil Nadu, Sridhar Vembu, I think his name is, he's been able to show that Zoho can actually start, kind of collating all the code, collating all the programming efforts, and ensure that the service levels are kept up. So my humble request to all of you, those of you who are especially, running IT consultancy firms, product firms, and are having startup ideas, Hyderabad and Telangana are great places to do business in. But when I say Hyderabad, I just don't mean Gachibowli or Kondapur or Madhapur. Because for most of you, in fact, you land in Shamshabad, you go to Gachibowli, enjoy working there, go to a nice pub or something there, and then go back home, and that's what you believe is Hyderabad. No. Hyderabad has more to offer. We have brilliant new locations like Uppal, LB Nagar, Kandlakoya, Kompalli, the northern part of Hyderabad, the central Hyderabad, where the cost of living is even lower compared to the other parts of Hyderabad. So therefore, my humble request to you is, because we cannot end up like Bangalore. We cannot afford to end up like Bangalore. 25 years ago, I used to love going to Bangalore because it was one of my favorite cities, the cosmopolitan nature of it, the social life, and the gardens, the temperature being low. In fact, there was a time in Bangalore where you didn't have to turn on a fan. You could be fine. But now, if you go to Bangalore today, in fact, I met somebody who told me that he was driving from Bangalore to Hyderabad, which is about 600 kilometers. I don't know in miles. You guys only talk in miles. But 600 kilometers is what it is. He told me that the amount of time it takes for him to get from Hyderabad city to Bangalore airport, and from Bangalore airport into his place, the other side of the city, I'm presuming, is exactly the same. So it takes him 5 hours to get to Bangalore airport in Yelahanka. From there again, to get to his place, it takes him another few hours. So he was lamenting, that Bangalore has grown despite the government, etc., etc. I'm not here to trash the BJP government in Karnataka. All I'm saying is there is a lot of inertia in Bangalore. A lot of people continue to invest in Bangalore because of inertia, because you're used to being there, because you're used to living there, you're used to kind of thinking only Bangalore. But let me tell you, it's a toss-up between inertia and dynamism. Inertia in Bangalore, dynamism in Hyderabad. You have to make up your choice. You have to actually look at this with your eyes open. Because I believe very firmly, Hyderabad today offers the best value proposition in the entire country. It offers you the biggest bang for the buck. Our quality of infrastructure is twice better when compared to Bangalore. But it comes at half the cost. Our cost of living is lower compared to Bangalore, at least I think I would say by 20-30%. Likewise, the ease of doing business is much better. Government being an enabler is another huge plus. And more importantly, let me remind you all, 40% of Bangalore's workforce is from Telugu states. 40% of the people that work in the IT space in Bangalore are actually Telugu. So given an opportunity, they would run back to Hyderabad, they would run back to Vizag maybe, and they'd be very, very content in working in their hometown or home state. So my humble request to all of you, kindly start looking at the newer opportunities in other parts of Hyderabad, and more importantly, government of Telangana. When I said inclusive growth, what did I mean? Even in information technology, we did not stop at Hyderabad. We have created 5 plug-and-play facilities already. Warangal, Khammam, Karimnagar, Nizamabad and Mehboob will be inaugurated this year. And we have gentlemen like Raju Reddy. Where is he? Raju Anna has actually done a beautiful job with what is called as Kakatiya sandbox in Nizamabad, creating a brilliant, brilliant avenue. Why don't you just say hello? Maybe just a wave. Please, he deserves a big round of applause. And in the last 3 or 4 days, and particularly in the last few months, some really, really interesting entrepreneurs have come forward. They told me, I'll just give you a couple of examples here of people who are around me. Where is Srini Surukanti? Now this guy, his name is Srini Surukanti. He moved back from Texas back to India. He comes to me one day and he says, you are aware of NTT data? Is the question he asked me. I said, yes, of course. Who doesn't know? He said, they want to open a center in Adilabad. I was in disbelief. I said, why would they do it? He said, no, I'll introduce you to the CEO. So this gentleman called Sanjeev Deshpande, I think it is. Sanjay. Sanjeev Deshpande comes to see me. He says, I want to open a center in Adilabad and I'm committed to it. I was surprised. I was obviously pleasantly surprised. I said, fine, let's make it happen. Then I introduce him to the local MLA. Both of them go take a tour of the place. And they come back in a week saying, we've already made placement offers to 75 people and we'll be 120 by the next week. We want you to come and inaugurate the new facility. We have rented a building, which is a government building, and it's up and running. So it's a brilliant, brilliant story in terms of what appetite these tier 2 and tier 3 towns have. Not just this one example. Let me call on Vamsi. Where is Vamsi? Vamsi is from Seattle. In fact, he runs a company called, there are some Seattle folks. He runs a company called Quadrant Resources. Vamsi is from Warangal, Narsampet. He decided, while he's growing and he continues to grow here in Seattle, he wanted to set up a large center in Warangal. In Warangal, we already have a few nice names. There is the Tech Mahindra Center, there is Scient, Genpact is now growing there, Mindtree is growing there, and then we already have a few other local companies. When Vamsi approached us, he said, I need a piece of land so I can build my own campus. We were surprised. We said, why don't you actually go and rent something? He said, no, as part of my growth plan, I want to actually invest something rock solid. I want to grow my business. I want to ensure that the center expands. So he's taken up a land there. Now he's already constructing. And he was narrating a beautiful story to me. His father, who's a 75-year-old gentleman, what's his name? Muralidhar Reddy Garu. He called him. He said, Dad, you haven't seen me in 2 years. You haven't seen the kids in 2 years. So why don't you come over to Seattle? You can spend some time with us in the summer. You know what his father says? He says, I'm supervising the construction of your office. As soon as it is completed, I'm going to board on a flight and I'm actually going to come see you in Seattle. Now that's commitment. That's passion. That's, I think something that we all need to take a leaf out of. Let me also point out to a few other guys. Mahesh Bigala here. He's an entrepreneur. He used to live in New Jersey. He moved back to India now. I don't know where he lives anymore because sometimes he's seen here, sometimes he's seen there. But he is in fact now working very aggressively with some Nizamabad NRIs to build up, we are building up the plug and play facility there. He's trying very hard along with his brother, the local MLA there, Ganesh, to ensure that Nizamabad center also takes off in a big way. Likewise, we had a gentleman today, I don't know where he is, Venkat Kanumuri. Venkat Kanumuri, please say hi, sir. Venkat comes to me today and he says, sir, nenu Jagdish Reddy garu Suryapeta minister gartho matladanu. I want to launch a center in Suryapet. I said, why would you want to do it in Suryapet? He says, sir, some of my employees are from Vijayawada, some of them are from Nalgonda, some of them are from Khammam. So I'm actually happy launching a center there because the attrition will be lower, their content levels are higher, so I'm doing it. So he's doing a nice center with about, how many people, sir? 50 to 150 people in Suryapet. So I can go on. I mean, I have another 10 examples of various entities. Is Ravi here? I don't know. Ravi, the gentleman who's also launching operations in Warangal. He's also doing a 1500 center in Warangal. I can go on. The list is huge. We have set a goal for ourselves. We have set a goal for ourselves and we said IT should not be confined to Hyderabad alone. We should take it to tier 2, tier 3 towns and we should make it happen. In our rural tech policy, we have set a target of 50,000 jobs in the tier 2, tier 3 towns in the next 5 years. And I think it's imminently doable with all of your support, with all of your guidance and blessing. అందరికీ ఏదో చేయాలి, ఏదో నేను నా సొంత ప్రాంతానికి ఏదైనా చేయాలి, నా జిల్లాకి, నా పట్టణానికి, నా ఊరికి ఏదైనా చేయాలని ఆతృత ఉంటుంది. అందులో ముఖ్యంగా వేల మైళ్ళు దూరంలో ఉన్నప్పుడు, వేల మైళ్ళ దూరంలో, ఇంటి నుంచి దూరంలో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఇంకా ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకంటే నేను కూడా మీ రోజుల్లో ఉన్నవాడిని. నేను కూడా ఒక 6.5 ఏడేళ్ల పాటు ఇక్కడే ఉన్నవాడిని. కాబట్టి మీ ఆరాటం నాకు తెలుసు. మీరు ఆ గ్రేట్ ఆంధ్ర .comలో లేకపోతే పేపర్లలో చూసే అప్డేట్లు నాకు తెలుసు. అవన్నీ మేము కూడా చేసిన వాళ్ళమే. కాబట్టి అందులో వచ్చినాయని నిజం నమ్మకండి, అది వేరే విషయం అనుకో. కాకపోతే నా రిక్వెస్ట్ ఏమంటే, వెన్ యూ వాంట్ టు గివ్ బ్యాక్, ఐ థింక్ డూ సంథింగ్ మీనింగ్ఫుల్. అంటే గుళ్ళు కట్టించే వాళ్ళు గుళ్ళు కట్టించండి, తప్పలేదు. బడులు కట్టించే వాళ్ళు బడులు కట్టించండి. లైబ్రరీస్కి డొనేట్ చేయాలనుకునే వాళ్ళు లైబ్రరీకి డొనేట్ చేయండి. ఒకవేళ నా కంపెనీ పెట్టి నేను 10 మందికి ఉద్యోగాలు ఇస్తా అనుకునే వాళ్ళు ఆ పని చేయండి. తద్వారా మీరు చేసే ఈ సేవా కార్యక్రమాల ద్వారా మీకు వచ్చే తృప్తి, మీకు వచ్చే దానివల్ల వచ్చే కృతజ్ఞత ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో స్థానికుల నుంచి, దానికి మించిన ఫీలింగ్ ఇంకోటి ఉండదు. వెన్ యూ గివ్ సంథింగ్ బ్యాక్ టు ద సొసైటీ, వెన్ యూ గివ్ సంథింగ్ టు యువర్ హోమ్ టౌన్, హోమ్ ల్యాండ్, village, I think there is no bigger sense of gratitude, there is no bigger sense of satisfaction. So my humble request to all of you, దయచేసి ఈ 2 కార్యక్రమాల్లో మీరందరూ కూడా విస్తృతంగా పాల్గొనాలని, దాంతోపాటు మరి చివరిగా నేను చెప్పేది, తెలంగాణ గ్రోత్లో, తెలంగాణ అభివృద్ధిలో, తెలంగాణ ఎదుగుదలలో మీ అందరి పార్టిసిపేషన్, మీ అందరి భాగస్వామ్యం. ఎందుకంటే మిమ్మల్ని మించిన బ్రాండ్ అంబాసిడర్లు మాకెవరు ఉండరు. మీరు ఇక్కడ ఉండి 4 మంచి మాటలు మీకు తెలిసిన మిత్రులకి, మీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్లో మీ బాసెస్కి చెప్పి, మా స్టేట్ ఉంది, దే ఆర్ ఓపెన్ ఫర్ బిజినెస్, ఐ విల్ టేక్ యూ దేర్, ఐ విల్ ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ యూ టు మై మినిస్టర్, మై బ్రదర్, మై ఫ్రెండ్, ఐ విల్ ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ యూ టు హిమ్ అని చెప్పి మీరు తీసుకొస్తే నథింగ్ మోర్ దెన్ దాట్. సో ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ to actually turn into brand ambassadors for the state of Telangana, to continue to spread the good word, continue to spread the good cheer, and become a part and parcel of our growth story. Thank you very much. I know I showed up late. Andarki hృదయపూర్వకమైన ధన్యవాదాలు. Thank you.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అన్న. చాలా తెలంగాణలో జరుగుతున్న అభివృద్ధిని ఖండాంతరంలో ఉన్న మా అందరికీ కళ్ళకు కట్టినట్టు చాలా మంచిగా వివరించినందుకు చాలా సంతోషం అన్న. ముఖ్యంగా విత్ యువర్ పర్మిషన్ అన్న, కొన్ని ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ వుడ్ లైక్ టు మీట్ యూ అండ్ ఫెసిలిటేట్.
I'll just thank some guys who have worked really hard to make this event a success. Naveen Jalagam, Raj Bhavani, Bhaskar Maddi, Ram Wala, Shiva Kaleru, Karunakar, Uday Jonala, and Purna Bairi. I think they deserve a big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Thanks, Arada. So, Anna, with your permission, few organizations would like to.
Would any of you want to ask a question or make a comment or a suggestion? Yes. We'll take a few questions. Mic is there. Me mic panjeste. Please introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself and ask the question or the comment, please. And please keep it as short as you can because I think we're already running late.
నమస్కారం అండి
Hello, ma'am.
ఆనరబుల్ మినిస్టర్ గారికి నా పేరు ఝాన్సీ రెడ్డి అండి వేటాన్ ఉమెన్ ఎంపవర్మెంట్ తెలుగు అసోసియేషన్ నుంచి మీరు ఎలాగో ఇప్పుడు మన ఊరి మన బడి అనేది మీరు కార్యక్రమం చేరబెట్టారు దాంతోపాటు మాకు స్మాల్ రిక్వెస్ట్ అండి ఫ్రమ్ వేటా నుంచి అట్లనే మన గవర్నమెంట్ స్కూల్స్లో కొంచెము సెల్ఫ్ డిఫెన్స్ క్లాసెస్ కూడా చేయగలిగితే ఐ థింక్ వీ కెన్ సేవ్ లాడ్ ఆఫ్ ఫీమేల్ గర్ల్స్ ఆర్ ఉమెన్ to protect themselves.
Absolutely, ma'am. Great idea. Definitely, ma Vidya Shakha Mantri gariki nenu cheptanu, and we can get it started fairly quickly because we have a lot of talented youngsters who can actually provide that service. So definitely, manchi alochana. Thank you, Jhansi garu.
Thank you.
Hello, beta. Give it to him.
Hello, my name is.
You asked me a question on the way in. Is it the same question? Puch lo, pucho.
I have a different one, and as you said, I
What's
came
your
up with
name?
this.
What's
My
your
name is Gurnur.
Okay.
My question is, how are you guys going to invest in child development in Tangalu?
Say that again.
How are you guys going to invest in child development?
In what?
In child development.
Child development. Wow. You're a 12-year-old, right? Oh, nice. So, since you're a you're what? You're not a teen. You're a tween. Pre-teen, tween, in between. Yeah, he's in between. So, what are we doing for child development is what you said. Two things. I think the first thing that's important is from a child perspective. In Telangana, our health indices, if you look at it, our infant mortality rate has come down big time. Our maternal mortality rate has come down. So therefore, the children that are born in Telangana today are healthier than they were possibly 8 years ago because of 2-3 programs. One is a program called Arogya Lakshmi, which provides nutritious food to the mother and the child till the child actually becomes, an infant and he is able to walk on his own feet. Now, the second thing we do, which I think is more important, is to make the child, well equipped in terms of being able to compete, like how confidently a 12-year-old stood up in Milpitas and asked me a question in front of hundreds of people. We want all of our Telangana children also to be empowered in a similar way. So therefore, we have launched 973 residential schools in Telangana, where more than 5 lakh kids, which is 500,000 plus kids actually go to school there in a residential format. We spend nearly 1,20,000 rupees on each and every child. We take care of everything, their boarding expenses, their schools, their books, their bags, the blankets, the food, everything is taken care of. Now we have 973 such schools. We also provide great deal of assistance in the form of fees reimbursement to the kids who want to graduate and go pursue higher studies. And if any of the bright young kid wants to come to the United States or some other country, to pursue higher education, we also offer scholarships to them to the tune of nearly 20 lakh rupees. I don't think any other state in India does that. So we do a bunch of things for children to make them globally rock solid citizens. Thank you, beta. Gurnar, right? Thank you. Yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
sir. My name is Sneha Vedula, and I represent the very dynamic Telangana Andhra team. And first of all, kudos to you for bringing the whole Telugu fraternity here after a long gap. I know you talked about the statistics. It may not be directly related to your portal, but I know you will be a first-hand messenger to the CM Garu. And you talked about peace and the activities which are planned will provide materialistic peace. But for a human, it's the safety and security, and that leads to the mental peace. And Andhra and Telangana together rank number 2 in human trafficking, and Hyderabad ranks number 5. So what is the state planning towards the safety and towards sex trafficking?
Well, two things. I think one of the things we are focused on is, in fact, most of the human trafficking that happens not only among women, but also among children. So we launched what is called as an Operation Smile to ensure that the human trafficking among children, firstly, is contained. We have been working diligently on it. You know, when it comes to a major who's above 18, trafficking doesn't happen in the form of coercion. In fact, it happens in the guise of employment. It happens in the guise of other opportunities. For instance, a lot of domestic maids who work in Gulf and other areas, they go by their free will. They're not coerced into going there. So therefore, the statistics when it comes to these kind of numbers can be a bit misleading, but I'm not disputing them at the same time. I'm sure, with more awareness campaigns, with more, confidence building measures, with more employment opportunities back home, I think we can potentially contain it. But I'm personally not privy to the concrete things that government has done in the last 6 or 7 years, either in Andhra Pradesh or in Telangana. Yeah?
Hello, hello KTR Garu. Quick question. Quick
your name?
compliment before that.
What's your name?
My name is Shrikar. I'm a Stanford graduate in life sciences. So firstly, quick compliment. Like 2014, we all used to think, oh, when would I get my green card and all? We were trying to stick to it here. But now everyone like, okay, if we get it or not, we can go back to Hyderabad. So that's a big
Not a
one.
bad thing.
Yeah. Next, being from life sciences, my biggest question, and also relating to during peak COVID, even Modi had to visit Hyderabad for the vaccination and all. That makes like a big thing for Hyderabad. So I want to hear from you, what's your focus on healthcare industry overall? Okay. Thank you.
Not just healthcare, but I think the larger life sciences spectrum, since you're a life sciences graduate, I'll tell you two things. One, the size of the life sciences industry in Hyderabad is about 50 billion now. And this includes bulk drugs companies and pharmaceutical companies, which actually produce 35% of India's pharmaceuticals and bulk drugs come from Hyderabad. In fact, I don't know how many of you in this room know this, 33% of global human vaccines come from Hyderabad. We are the vaccine capital of the world, not India. So bulk drugs, pharmaceuticals, of course, vaccines, like I said, and also India today imports 78% of its medical devices. What we have done in Telangana is we have created a 250-acre sized large medical devices park. It's the largest of its kind in India. And in fact, recently I was there inaugurating 7 facilities on a single day. And 20 more are actually set to begin their operations. So we are trying to cover the entire spectrum, all the way from bulk drugs to med devices. Now, how do I see this panning out? Our ambition is to be a $100 billion industry by 2030. And we conduct events like BayArea. In fact, I'm conducting a big life sciences forum tomorrow, where several life sciences companies are coming in. Day after, in fact, I'll be in Boston meeting several life sciences companies. I was in San Diego meeting Scripps Institute, where in fact, setting up the world's largest pharma cluster in about 15,000 acres. Now, this will be the single largest pharma cluster in the world. 95% of the work is done, about 5% remains. The reason why I was at Scripps in San Diego is basically to request them to join us in creating a world-class center of excellence / pharma university, which can actually keep the pipeline, hot, to ensure that more and more talented workforce comes out of it, and which will continue to feed our life sciences sector. So broadly, we're not neglecting any particular sector. In fact, I didn't know if I mentioned, but when President Trump called Modi for hydroxychloroquine, it was Hyderabad that came to the rescue of even the citizens of the United States. So Hyderabad has a great footprint already in life sciences. We want to consolidate it, double it by 2030. And now talking about healthcare, I think I just mentioned, we had 3 medical colleges. Now we are going to ramp it up to 33. And we also are, in fact, for those of you who are into the startup space and especially in healthcare side, where in fact we have launched a unique program in Sirsila and Mulugu district. These 2 districts, it is ongoing right now as we speak. We are actually building the electronic medical records, electronic health profiles of each and every citizen in my district and Mulugu also. And then eventually we want to roll that out to the entire state. What is the purpose of doing it? What is the need of doing it? The reason why we are doing it is, in India, when an accident happens, a road accident or any kind of accident happens, you're rushed to a hospital. Anywhere in the world, you're rushed to a hospital. Once you go there, then your blood sample is collected, your blood group is checked, and in case the patient is unconscious, it becomes difficult to assess if he or she has any allergies. So what we are building now is basically we are conducting tests at the doorstep of the people, and we are going to digitize all that information, create a digital footprint, a health record of that individual, put it in a cloud so that the private hospitals and also the government hospitals are able to access it. And once you're rushed to in an emergency to a hospital, all they have to do is pull up your record using your fingerprint or iris, or if you have an Aadhaar on you, Aadhaar. One of these is good enough so that, in that golden hour, to infuse blood or to start treatment or to make sure that a life is saved. This is the purpose of what we are doing, and we want to build the entire state's health profile. So we are using technology, we are using conventional methods, we continue to ramp up our infrastructure and healthcare and life sciences. We are going to be a role model state, like how we are on agriculture and irrigation and drinking water. I promise you, we'll be a role model state for the entire country in healthcare and life sciences as well.
Good evening, Anna. Thanks for coming here. Telangana రాష్ట్ర సాధకులు కేసీఆర్ గారు తనయుడిగా అలానే ఒక మోడర్న్ థింకింగ్ ఉన్న మినిస్టర్గా ఏదో ఒక రోజు మీరు రాష్ట్ర ముఖ్యమంత్రి అవుతారని చాలామంది అనుకుంటున్నారు. సో అలానే మీకు చూసినట్టయితే యూత్లో చాలా హైయెస్ట్ ఫాలోయింగ్ ఉంది ఒక తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో చూస్తే. మీరు ముఖ్యమంత్రి అయితే యూత్కి పర్టికులర్గా యాస్పిరెంట్గా ఉన్న యూత్ కోసం మీరు తీసుకునే మొదటి నిర్ణయం ఏది ఉంటుందని తెలుసుకోవాలనుకుంటున్నాం.
ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్, వన్ షుడ్ నెవర్ థింక్ సో అహెడ్ ఇన్ లైఫ్. అంత అంటే నేను ఊరికే చెప్పట్లేదు. మీ పేరేంటి?
నా పేరు మహేశ్వర్.
మహేష్, లిజన్, when I was part and parcel of the US immigrant story, I was here. I went to school here in New York City. I lived in tri-state area for about 6.5 years, like I told you. Then I went back. The only thing that was playing on my mind when I went back was, to be closer to my parents, to be with them. That was all that was playing on my mind. And then eventually, when our Honorable CM, had resigned for his parliament membership, and he went for a bypoll in Karimnagar, I did not even tell him. I did not even actually disclose to him that I was quitting my job. I actually quit a very high-paying and a very nice job, very cushy job. They used to pay me in dollars actually back in India, so it was very nice. But I quit it in 2006 and I joined the movement. I never dreamt, even in the wildest of my dreams, that I would be a minister, that I would get an opportunity to serve. Today, it's just fortune that I'm his son, and incidentally, I also became part of the agitation, and then I got an opportunity to contest, and people have blessed me 4 times in a row from Sirsila. So let's not think ahead. What I would seriously and sincerely commit to is one thing. In the limited shelf life that I have, whatever that people have blessed me with, I will continue to promote Telangana. I will continue to create more employment opportunities for Telangana. I will ensure that, wherever the best developments are happening in the world, I'll continue to imbibe from the best. I'll try to absorb them. I'll try to implement them as much as I can to the limited extent possible in my individual capacity. I am blessed with a good team, so they continue to make me look good. But thank you for all your generous comments. Thank you, really. I think we'll take one last question and retire. I think you must be hungry also.
Hey,
You already had dinner. Wow. Nice of you guys. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi.
This is Bejanki Raghu, and I'm from Nizamabad. And Bigalan might know Collector Ground. We all guys go there and practice our sports there. So my question to the ministry is like on this activity of Manavuru, Manabadi, especially focusing on the government high schools. Do we have any distribution strategy to focus on the sports management, like where we're going to create those motivation aspects in the students?
I'm sorry, do we have a distribution strategy for what?
Sports activities in the students.
Yes, in fact, as part of Manavuru Manabadi, we are also sprucing up the ground. If the school has a ground, we are also sprucing it up. We are actually making it nicer. I've done a school in my own capacity in my constituency, which I'm showcasing as an example to others who are coming in. So yes, we are sprucing up the sporting facilities within the school. But more importantly, I think we need to create more community sporting facilities also. So as Urban Development Minister, I'm also focused on that aspect, and I'm trying to create as many indoor sports complexes as possible in the towns, in the 142 towns across the state. Yeah? Yes, sir. This is really the last question.
Thank you, Andy. నాది పూర్వ వరంగల్ జిల్లా, అంటే ఇప్పుడు ప్రస్తుతం మహబూబాబాద్ జిల్లా ఇనుగుర్తి గ్రామం మీకు తెలిసే ఉంటుంది. అక్కడి నుంచి వద్దిరాజు రవిచంద్ర అని మీ టీఆర్ఎస్ లీడర్, మన టీఆర్ఎస్ లీడర్ ఉన్నారు. అయితే నేను చెప్పొచ్చేది ఏంటంటే, నేను అక్కడ ఆ ఊళ్ళో పుట్టాను, ఆ ఊళ్ళో పెరిగాను, ఆ ఊళ్ళో హై స్కూల్ వరకు చదువుకున్నాను. అయితే మీరు ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ డెవలప్ చేద్దామని అనుకుంటున్నారు. అంటే ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ అంటే ది బిల్డింగ్స్ అండ్ దెన్ అదర్ ఫెసిలిటీస్. కానీ నేను అక్కడ చదువుకున్నవాడిని కాబట్టి ఏం చెప్తున్నాను అంటే, ఇప్పుడు కూడా మీకు తెలిసే ఉంటుంది, ఏ గ్రేడ్ రావటమే పరమావధి కాదు చదువులో. అలాగే ఐఐటీలోనో లేకపోతే ఐటీ జాబ్ తెచ్చుకోవటమే కాకుండా, అలాంటి పిల్లల మనస్తత్వాలను ఇట్ ఈస్ ఓకే టు సిట్ ఇన్ ద బ్యాక్ బెంచ్, ఇట్ ఈస్ ఓకే టు పర్సూ యువర్ ప్యాషన్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అనే కరికులం మీరు డెవలప్ చేస్తే మన యువత, మన తెలంగాణ భవిత చాలా బాగుంటుందని నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. నా పేరు మృత్యుంజయుడు తాటిపామల అండి. అవునండి. నేను అక్కడ ఉన్నా కాబట్టి, నా స్నేహితులు ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి, నేను చదువుకున్నా కాబట్టి, ఆ ఊళ్ళో పుట్టి పెరిగా కాబట్టి, మా నాన్నగారు
అక్కడే పుట్టి పెరిగారు, అక్కడే చదువుకున్నారు, స్కూల్ బాగు చేయరా?
అది నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ అదే వస్తున్నానండి. అది మీరు ప్రశ్న అడుగుతున్నారు. నేను ప్రీ పాండమిక్ వెళ్ళినప్పుడు అక్కడ హెడ్ మాస్టర్తో మాట్లాడాను మార్చ్ మంత్లో, వాట్ ఐ కెన్ డూ ఫర్ దిస్ స్కూల్ వేర్ ఐ హ్యావ్ స్టడీడ్ అని. అయితే వెంటనే కోవిడ్ స్టార్ట్ అయింది, దెన్ ఐ గాట్ స్టక్ హియర్. నేను మీకు నెక్స్ట్ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఏంటి అంటే, సార్ నేను వస్తాను, మా బడికి నేను ఏమైనా చేస్తాను, అప్పుడు మీ దగ్గరకు వస్తాను.
కాదు, రైట్ చెక్, ఐ యామ్ రైట్ ఇన్ ఫ్రంట్ ఆఫ్ యు, రైట్ చెక్.
నో ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ ది సార్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఎ చెక్ రైటింగ్ పర్సన్. ఐఎమ్ ఏ పర్సన్ హూ విల్ కమ్ దేర్ అండ్ టీచ్ అండ్ డెవలప్ ది కరికులం వాట్ ఎవర్ యూ వాంట్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ దట్
సార్. అంటే మీరు తెలంగాణ భవితను కొద్దిగా మంచి డైరెక్షన్లో చేయండి అని అంతకంటే.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. Anyone else? And I think we can close it, right? Yes, please do. And thank you very much. Good night. Jai Telangana.
Hello. With your permission. Anna? Sorry. With your permission, దయచేసి ప్లీజ్ లాస్ట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అండి, ఒక్కసారి ఆల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ని గ్రూప్స్ వైజ్గా ఈ జనరల్గా బే ఏరియాలో ఉన్న ఆల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ మంత్రి గారిని ఫెసిలిటేట్ చేస్తా అని చెప్పేసి అడుగుతున్నారు. ఎక్కువ లేదండి, దయచేసి వాళ్ళని పిలుస్తున్నాం. నో సెల్ఫీస్, నో సింగిల్ ఫోటోస్ అండి. ఫస్ట్గా ముందు ప్రోగ్రామ్ని కండక్ట్ చేసిన ఒక్క నిమిషం, శివ కాలేరు స్టేజ్ తీసేవా, స్టేజ్ తీసే. దయచేసి నో సెల్ఫీస్ అండి స్టేజ్ మీదకి. ఫస్ట్గా ముందుగా ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కన్నా ఇంతకుముందు మంత్రి గారు పేర్లు చెప్పిన వాళ్ళు మాత్రం స్టేజ్ మీదకి వచ్చి ఒక్కసారి సార్ని ఫెసిలిటేట్ చేయాల్సింది. 24 అవర్స్లో ఒక్క నిమిషం అందరు ఇట్లా రండి, దయచేసి ఒక సైడ్ నుంచి రండి అందరండి. టీమ్ రాజ్ భవానీ, భాస్కర్ మడ్డి, రామ్వాలా, శివ కాలేరు, కరుణాకర్, ఉదయ్ జొన్నల, పూర్ణవేరి. ఒక్క నిమిషం అన్న, వంశీ ఒక్క నిమిషం పిలుస్తాను. అవి కాదు ఓన్లీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ అండి ప్లీజ్, దయచేసి ఆర్గనైజేషన్. వేట ఆర్గనైజేషన్ ఝాన్సీ రెడ్డి గారి ఆధ్వర్యంలో మంత్రి గారిని ఒక్క నిమిషం అందరు ఓన్లీ గ్రూప్ ఫోటోస్, నో సెల్ఫీస్ ప్లీజ్. Only organizations, boss. Please try to understand. Please, only organizations. Please try to understand. Please, you have to go out. తర్వాత ఇప్పటివరకు భాస్కర్ మేడం సారీ ప్లీజ్ ఓన్లీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ సార్ ప్లీజ్ డోంట్ మెస్ అప్ ద ప్రోగ్రామ్. ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పిన భాస్కర్ మేడం ఓన్లీ టీసీఏ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ రండి. ఓన్లీ టీసీఏ వాళ్ళు దయచేసి టీసీఏ ఎస్టీఏ ఫాస్ట్ 2 minutesలో ర్యాపిటప్ చేయాలండి. ఫాస్ట్ గ్రూప్స్ ఓన్లీ. సాక్రమెంటో నుంచి వచ్చిన నో సెల్ఫీస్ సార్, నో సెల్ఫీస్, నో గ్రూప్ ఫోటోస్. ఒక్క నిమిషం ఆగండి, మీరు సాక్రమెంట్ వెళ్ళండి. ఓన్లీ ఎస్టీఏ. ఒక్క నిమిషం ప్లీజ్ అన్న, ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్. చెప్తా. ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి అమిత్ రెడ్డి సూర్యకంటి గారు కూడా చాలా అద్భుతంగా సాయం చేశారు. లాస్ట్ మినిట్లో నో సెల్ఫీస్ సార్, ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్. నో సెల్ఫీస్, నో గ్రూప్ ఫోటోస్. మేక్ ఇట్ ఫాస్ట్. తర్వాత విఎస్ఎఫ్ వాళ్ళు, విఎస్ఎఫ్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్. ప్లీజ్ విఎస్ఎఫ్ టీమ్ ఒక్కసారి ఫోటో దిగిన వాళ్ళు వెళ్ళాలి బయటికి దయచేసి. ఒక్క నిమిషం సార్. సార్ నో సెల్ఫీ సార్, ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్ మినిమం సెన్స్. ప్లీజ్ నో సెల్ఫీస్, ఐ సెడ్ వెరీ క్లియర్లీ. సార్ ప్లీజ్ సార్ అన్న, నువ్వు ఇట్లా చేస్తే కష్టం అన్న మీకు. నో సార్ సార్ దిస్ ఇట్స్ సార్ ఇట్లా చేస్తే మంత్రి గారు 1 minute వెళ్ళిపోతారండి, మీ ఇష్టం. ఇఫ్ మనం కొంచెం డిసిప్లిన్గా ఉంటే మంత్రి గారు కొంచెం ఎక్కువసేపు ఉండి అందరినీ కలుస్తారు. మనం డిసిప్లిన్ లేకపోతే మంత్రి గారు త్వరగా వెళ్ళిపోతారు. దయచేసి అర్థం చేసుకోండి. డోంట్ ఇరిటేట్ హిమ్ ప్లీజ్. ఓన్లీ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ అని చెప్పిన, దయచేసి ఫోటో దిగ్గానే వెళ్ళండి కిందికి, వేరే వాళ్ళకి స్పేస్ ఇవ్వండి. ఓ ప్లీజ్, దిస్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ద డిస్కషన్ ప్లేస్ అండి. ప్లీజ్ అన్న కొద్దిగా మీరు ఇంటికి జరగండి అన్న మీరు. సార్ ప్లీజ్ సార్, దిస్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ద ప్లేస్ టు సార్. సార్ మీరు అందరు దిగండి సార్, స్టేజ్ మించి అందరు దిగండి సార్. ప్లీజ్ సార్, ప్లీజ్ మీరు. అవును సార్, అరే ప్లీజ్ అన్న ప్లీజ్ సార్, నో పర్సనల్ రిక్వెస్ట్ సార్, నో రిక్వెస్ట్, ఓన్లీ గ్రూప్ ఫోటో. లేదంటే మంత్రి గారిని ఒక నిమిషం పక్కా జరండి. ఓకే విఎస్ఎఫ్ అన్న ప్లీజ్ అన్న, ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్. గ్రూప్ ఇట్లా ఉంటే ఏం చేస్తుంది? ప్లీజ్ కొంచెం స్ప్రెడ్ అవుట్ అయితే ఫోటో తీయొచ్చు. డోంట్ ఇరిటేట్, ప్లీజ్ మెయింటైన్ సమ్ డిసిప్లిన్ సార్. నో సెల్ఫీస్ ఐ సెడ్ సార్, ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు. నో విజయ్, నో నవీన్, నో బడీ. ప్లీజ్ మెయింటైన్ సమ్ డిసిప్లిన్. బాటా వాళ్ళు దిగుతున్నారు, దయచేసి అయిపోయింది కదా అన్న, ఎంతసేపు అన్న ప్లీజ్ అన్న, ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి దిగిన వాళ్ళు స్టేజ్ దిగండి. నో సెల్ఫీస్ ప్లీజ్, దయచేసి డిసిప్లిన్గా గ్రూప్ ఫోటోస్ దిగండి. నో సెల్ఫీస్ ఐ సెడ్ వెరీ క్లియర్లీ. బాటా వాళ్ళు దిగగానే వెళ్ళండి దయచేసి. సిలికాన్ ఆంధ్ర ఒక్క నిమిషం సార్, మీరు చూస్తున్నారు కదా, ఐ కెనాట్. ప్లీజ్ సార్ దయచేసి నో పర్సనల్ రిక్వెస్ట్. आदित्य यस प्लीज सर जी आप इतना बार सर कितना बार सर आप यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड सर देयर अदर hundreds of people are waiting to take picture. Please sir जी please get up ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి అందరు వెళ్ళండి సార్ బయటికి. ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి అందరు ప్లీజ్ సార్, ఇది బేరియా లాస్ట్. ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి స్టేజ్ నుంచి దిగండి అందరూ. విజయ్ భాయ్ నువ్వు ఇట్లా పర్సనల్ రిక్వెస్ట్ చెప్పకన్నా, దండం పెడతా నీకు. నో రిలేషన్, నో నథింగ్ అన్న, నో ఇంట్రడక్షన్. గ్రూప్ ఫోటోస్ అని చెప్తే మీరు పోయి ఇంట్రడక్షన్. ప్లీజ్ అన్న మీరు దిగండి అన్న, కొద్దిగా ఎవరు మీరు అందరు దిగండి అన్న ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి. తర్వాత పిలుస్తాను అన్న, ప్లీజ్ దయచేసి కొంచెం డిసిప్లిన్ మెయింటైన్ చేయండి సార్. ఇట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు బి బ్యాడ్ అండ్ బే ఏరియా. లాస్ట్ 48 అవర్స్లో ఇంత అద్భుతంగా మనం చేసుకొని లాస్ట్ మినిట్లో దయచేసి డిసిప్లిన్గా మంత్రి గారిని ప్లీజ్ ప్లీజ్ దిగండి, గెట్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేజ్ ప్లీజ్ ప్లీజ్. దయచేసి నో, లైన్లో వస్తే అందరూ దిగుతారు ఫోటోస్, ఇలా వస్తే ఎవరు అందరూ ప్లీజ్ అన్న ప్లీజ్ అన్న ప్లీజ్ మీరు అంటారు, మీరు బ్యాక్ వెళ్ళండి ప్లీజ్ సార్ ప్లీజ్. రామన్న మీరు కొంచెం అందరినీ బయటకు వెళ్ళండి, అందరు పక్కన ఇండి అన్న. రామన్న ఒకసారి ముందుకు రా అన్న, ముందుకు రండి అన్న 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 ఒక్కసారి ముందుకు. నో సార్.